Oh, have I got a week for you? So last Saturday, I was pretty upset. And I was pretty upset because there was a lot of stuff going on that made me not happy for I guess if for lack of a better term. Um and it mostly had to do with some ridiculous stuff with this place I was working at last week. Not this week, the week before that. But there have been some pretty interesting updates and things that have been revealed, and we'll get into it as the stream progresses and we get maybe some more people here. I don't know. Um, but this week, I would say was what had a slightly more optimistic ending to it than the one before, if only because it really it seems like people are a little bit more sympathetic than they were previously, or the ones from that week were. Then I did my Black Panther review on what was that Monday. I'm still gonna try to go see it again in theater. I just was trying to go with someone else because, I have other people I know that have not seen it. My best friend actually saw it. He said he liked it. Um, he said that he liked Namor more than Killmonger. I told him, "Get hey, you better keep that to yourself." You can't. You're not. The one thing the internet despises more than certain people is are certain opinions that are not their own. I mean, that's one of the worst things he could have even speculated. Because if you go on the internet, you'll see nothing but a whole bunch of like MCU villain rankings, and they always put Killmonger in like the top 10 or top 5, and they really hype him up as this like amazing, complex, interesting villain. And I've just like I said, there are things I like about him. The backstory of like wanting to use Wakandan weapons and different technology to help black people around the world. But when you start getting into the parts where he admits that he wants to hurt children, well, it's one of those things where the sympathy kind of goes out the window. Oh, but I like Michael B. Jordan. So I was any issues I have with that character are not about his performance. I wish he was in the movie more because there's a period where he just disappears. I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of the one movie villain thing. Like I was so happy, um, like Namor's fate, because it's like at least now you can actually do something with him again. You can't, like I don't know. I always felt like the MCU since it started has had the same problem that has plagued superhero movies for as long as they've been a thing, which is that they'll have some really some either really interesting villain or some villain that has a really good performance, and they'll just get rid of him after one movie. So I'm glad that there seems to be more of an effort to course correct that. Um, but even then, it's you still see it in like other stuff too. No, there are so many villains that are like really good, and then we only get them one time because they have this there's this like thing with studios where they feel the only way to have a climactic conclusion is to have the antagonist die. So they can't write anything else that will seem as if it's not what do you call it? Cathartic and satisfying, which is really sad because um I remember with Batman Begins, yeah, Roz, doesn't make it, but they kept Scarecrow around. Man, Scarecrow is so just underutilized. He's got really interesting powers, and you can do like a whole movie where he's just exploring the psychology of Batman and how they both use fear to, intimidate people, but one uses it for good and the other uses it for bad. Like I really like Cillian Murphy, but I wish they gave him more to do in Begins, and I wish he didn't play second fiddle to the League of Shadows. And like I don't know, I just always felt like even though he's in all of the trilogy, they didn't use him as much as I think they should have. I mean, I know The Dark Knight has a bunch of characters in it, and but it's like when you get to Rises, where it's Bane and the League of Shadows again. I don't know. I wish he had more than a cameo in the latter two films. Because Cillian Murphy's a good actor. He should have more than one scene. That's why I said I'm always amazed by how when it comes to a superhero, people will like they'll be fine with it going on forever, and then when it comes to a villain in one of those movies, I hear the same stock phrase every time. They like it gets mentioned that someone might be coming back. They serve their purpose. We need new villains. We need new villains. We need new villains. We need new villains. Like I remember when Flash was announced to have Zod come back, and I got excited. I was like, "Oh yeah, one of my favorite DCEU antagonists is returning." I saw somebody Zod fulfilled his purpose, and I don't see. It's like, man, look, if you think it's so dumb to bring him back, then don't watch the dumb movie that brings him back. Oh no, I guess for me, my problem with a lot of that stuff is when I draw a conclusion about like, do I think this story works or doesn't? I at least watch it or have seen it or read it, whatever. And for these people, they don't know anything about the story. They just go off of like info dumps. Oh, this person is confirmed to be appearing in blah, blah, blah. And then that's how they draw their conclusion. They basically just kind of make it a thing where they don't actually know what's in the story and what it's about, but they know they're against it because I mean, like I said, people are anti everything. But my biggest issue has always been when people have a problem with something without having seen it. That's just insane to me. I'm not even talking about like people having a problem with like I don't want to watch this, but just like the whole angle of this story that I know nothing about because it hasn't been released yet. There's no trailers, anything like that. Is going to be dumb because they bring back this villain that I think they should have kept dead. Oh man. I don't know. I'm just annoyed by a lot of the stuff that people say about these things because they just always seem so desperate to be like this thing does not need to continue. We don't need more of and it's like only with characters that are the villain in any of the superhero stuff do they start trying to shoot it down. Like, oh, I can't wait to see. Let me think of somebody. I don't know. It's just I'm tired of it. It's really annoying because I think what it is that a lot of people don't write and they just instantly believe that if you make a new character, it's going to be better than bringing back an old one. Um, but like I said, I read that last arc of Super, the one before Granola with Moro. It's like that arc would have been way more interesting. It still probably wouldn't have been good, but it's like if if you're going to give me some individual that's like based off of an animal that can absorb people and is like tied to the lore of the series that's already been established by previous stuff. Bring back Cell. Don't bring in this goat with no personality and no reason to be evil other than he's evil. I'm just saying, I like people just they have this real fundamental issue where they can't accept that sometimes bringing back an older antagonist, older character, whatever the hell, um, can be written in a better way than introducing new ones. Just like I said, just because it's new doesn't mean it's good. But yeah, they'll learn the hard way when we get these stories with the new characters that people despise. Like I remember when the sequel trilogy started and people were like, "Oh, Ray is kind of like Luke, except Uh, without the training. Oh, what's his name? Poe is kind of like Han, except without an interesting dynamic with the protagonist because he spends most of the first movie absent and doesn't actually talk to her until the end of the second one, but then they're best friends in the third one for some reason. God. I'm still thinking about how when Acolyte first was announced, there were people who were talking about, oh, it's set 100 years before Phantom Menace. That means we could end up seeing Darth Plagueis. It's like, well, I mean, I don't even and maybe I haven't read the book in a while. Actually, no, I take that back because even if you read the book, it doesn't matter because it's not canon. Uh, it's so funny how because they got rid of that book that just completely expanded that character, every single thing we know about him that came from which came from that one source is just out the window. Like the only thing that's still stuck with us is that he was Palpatine's master and was killed by him. Other than that, it's really mysterious. Which is so lame because, like I said, the book was really good and interesting, and it revealed things that I very much enjoyed. I hate that it became non-canon just 2 years after being released. I just thought Plagueis was really interesting. Like of the Sith Lords that aren't in any of the movies, it's probably him and Nihilus that I like the most. But it was really lame that they just got rid of him. Got rid of that book real quick. It's like in 2012, witness the origins of Palpatine and an expanded backstory on his master and the person that corrupted him fully to the dark side. And then 2 years later, Disney is making new Star Wars sequels. So this book that probably doesn't contradict anything that's in the sequels is gonna go bye bye. Really, really sad. I don't know. I just don't like the lack of acknowledgement of the EU. Like that was always the biggest turnoff because, like I said, I remember the days where there were only 3 or 6 movies because I remember a little bit of what happened before Revenge of the Sith came out. And it's like you had the 6 movies, Clone Wars, both versions, the Cartoon Network one that came out in like 2003, and then the CGI one. Um, and then you had a bunch of comics, right? You had some stuff that was set like was 1,000 years after the original trilogy. You had the EU novels, and it's like you had so much stuff that was released by these different writers who I think did a fairly decent job of not contradicting each other too much, to like keep the story going and tell like more interesting stuff in this universe. And it just became completely all destroyed over like 30 years worth of stories just gone with the snap of a finger. Like I swear, you would think Disney put the Infinity Gauntlet on and snap before Thanos did. All like I'm just picturing all these books and stories just get wiped away from existence. It was so sad. It's like, yeah, I know I can go back and read those if I want to, but I just hate that like these different writers really kept this stuff going when it was over and done with. Um, I don't know. I just think it's sad. We're gonna make an Akatsuki Merchant trilogy, and then in between the trilogy, there's gonna be a prequel trilogy about his daddy. And in like 30 years of those two trilogies, there's gonna be some comics and some video games and some novels, and they're all gonna take place in this series of 6 movies about Akatsuki Merchant and his daddy. But then after my company buys the rights to the film series about Akatsuki Merchant and his daddy, these 6 movies, we're gonna make 3 more, and we're gonna tell you all the other stuff that's not the movies, and that one show is non-canon, even if it doesn't contradict what we're trying to do, even if it's set 1,000 years before any of the stories we're telling. It's all non-canon now. Oh, by the way, we're gonna make sure we rip it off because I remember like when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Han had a son, and he became a Sith Lord, and he oh yeah, and he's like, oh, uh, in the sequel trilogy, Han also has a son who becomes a Sith." I was like, "Oh, so you took Jason and changed his name to Kylo or Ben or whatever, and now he's a totally different original new creation." Yeah, whatever. I think it probably would have been more interesting if it was like Luke's kid that became evil, because he's supposed to be like the incorruptible, pure-hearted, protagonist. So if his child is like the reverse of that, where they're like this really moody, maybe they like a little kid or something. But you get the idea that like I think that would probably have worked better as far as like differentiating the sequels from the expanded universe stuff, the EU. I don't know, whatever. The damage has already been done. Yeah, sequel trilogy stuff is just there's a reason why after Rise of Skywalker came out, you haven't had anything set after that movie, which is really crazy to think about that they're just like, all right, well, there's nothing further than this. We keep going backward. It's crazy how all these classics are just gone in one single swoop. Yeah. I'm forgetting the story because but I know that there's a Star Wars novel where Chewbacca gets killed or dies in like a heroic sacrifice. And I remember Disney when they did their decision to, get rid of everything, they said, "Well, if we have Chewbacca show up alive in our trilogy, and he dies in that novel, people might be confused." Even though you have to remember that because Disney's a billion-dollar company, they easily could have had their sequels set before that because this story is set like 20 years after Episode 6. They could have easily had their trilogy set before that happens. So, it's one of those things where I just don't understand the logic of it because there's a lot of material that doesn't contradict what they were trying to make. Um, and they still were like, "Nah, we're getting rid of it." Like all the Age of the Old Republic stuff, the Star Wars games on the Xbox, like that stuff doesn't contradict anything Disney was trying to do, and they still deleted it. So they're just a really goofy company to me. And I think it is screwed up to like tell all these different writers and creators, "Oh, everything you did up to this point doesn't matter anymore. We're still gonna sell it, by the way, so we make some money off of what you wrote, but it's not canon anymore. It didn't matter." I'm really upset with Akatsuki Merchant because he said that if he made a pledge last year that he was gonna boycott Black Panther 2 if they didn't instate Killmonger as the new Black Panther. So he's been on the deep end ever since that film came out. My friend got a real kick out of recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa. But like I was explaining in my stream, I said, I know how the internet is. And we've seen this happen before where you've got some actor who takes over for somebody else, and then people just start going in on them, attacking them, treating them like trash, saying that they pale in comparison to their predecessor. Like it's really that's why it's so interesting to me that they want you to feel like you're missing something by not having another actor play that character. When I know that if they were to get somebody else, you're going to have some segment of them. Maybe it's not most, maybe it's, and of course it's not going to be all, but you're going to see some segment of people who are going to look at that new actor and go, "Hey, you're not as good as the last guy." So I don't know. It's one of those things where the idea is going to sound much better than the execution. because the execution is going to be a new person shows up to play this character. Um, some of the people that were calling for it start saying that that person's not good enough, and that person spends the next what 5 years, 10 years being told that they're not as good as Chadwick. So I know how fandoms are, especially in the social media age. Like you've had recast, like from like the early 2000s. What was it? I think it was Dumbledore. I'm not that familiar with Harry Potter, but you've had some recast before, and how people reacted to it is not as clear as it is with some of the ones that have come from the more recent era where everybody is on Twitter, everybody's on YouTube. But I'm telling you, it's really scary just thinking about what kind of pressure that person would be under, and just how nasty people can be when you I guess play a character that they like after somebody else did it before you. I mean, heck, if you want to go back a little bit further in time, like over 50, what was that, 14 years ago? Not 14 years ago. Damn, TASM, the first one is now 10 years old. Anyways, you go back to like 11, 12 years ago. I remember when Raimi's Spider-Man 4 got canceled and they announced new reboot with Garfield or whatever. And there were a whole bunch of people that didn't like TASM because they wanted more of the Raimi version. So I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where people become attached to a certain actor or person, and then when you get rid of them and put somebody else in, then you pretty much screw yourself. Like there's even some crazy people who say that instead of getting rid of Iron Man, they should have recast Robert Downey Jr. And I'm like, are you crazy as hell? You want one of the most iconic performances in that entire series that went on for 11 years to be picked up by some new random person who's going to get torn apart for everything? People act like actors are the characters that they play, and anyone who plays that role isn't as good as them despite their talent. Right. But what I'm saying is, knowing that, it makes me very reluctant to support recast under these particular circumstances. Because again, you're going to have some people who will go and say, "Oh, this person's not as good as the other one," and then they'll be doing this for I don't know how long. Oh man. But I'm just saying that I think in certain instances there is logic to not doing it. Like imagine after Endgame, they get rid of Iron Man, then they bring in some variant that is from another universe, and he's gonna meet with the Vincent. Like you get where that would be jarring because it's the same series, but you have somebody else playing this character who we saw die. It's weird. And again, it's like look at how long he played him. 9 movies, 11 years. And you're really supposed to just expect somebody else to pick up from that? Hell no. I just think it would be really hard for another person to have to like step into their shoes and do that. And I would say the same thing about Hemsworth as Thor and um Chris Evans as Cap. It's like when you have one person just keeps playing it for year after year, movie after movie, it's one of those things where I just don't think, at least in the same universe, like the same series of stuff, you can do somebody else that you can have somebody else do it. By the way, you know that Hemsworth announced he's going to take some kind of retirement from acting because he's like in the early he's like he has some kind of like worry about getting Alzheimer's. There's some kind of stuff with his doctor. And you had some pricks. So I said I really can't stand people online who are talking about recast store, recast store, recast store. I was like, "Oh my god. This man just announced that he's going to have some disease that could affect him, and this really awful way of like losing your memory, and the first thing that comes out of these people's mouth, recast Thor, recast Thor, recast Thor. I remember I was talking about how I was getting in my friends behind metaphorically for saying that he doesn't like care about actors and treats them like regular people or some kind of thing. And the sad part is when you treat the people who work on this stuff like they're not human beings, where right after one of them has something happen to them, you're wondering, oh, what about this role that they play? That's one of the problems that comes from that. Instead of going, "Oh man, I hope Chris is all right." He works hard. He has a family. This. I hope that he doesn't have this illness. Instead, you go, "Well, what about Thor 5?" Like, I don't know. It's just that's the kind of when you treat the people that are involved in the stuff that you watch with more reverence for the role they play than them as a person. That's the kind of stuff you get. Like I said, I knew this one person who really liked Robert Downey Jr. to where they had seen all the stuff that he was in, or at least most of it apparently. Um, and it's like I respect a person like that because they actually treat the actor like someone who matters. Like, hey, oh, you're in this movie. I'm gonna go watch it. I'm not gonna just have. I'm not gonna only see you in this one particular series. Oh, you've got some new health issue. Well, I hope you feel better. Oh, okay. I hope that you get. I don't know. It's just to me, an approach like that is so much more preferable because most people are like this. They just go watch a movie for like a trailer or whatever. But I always have a certain respect for people that will take some actor they really like and watch stuff just because they're in it or keep up with them in some way that most others don't because it really shows. And again, I know that there's like stalkers and stuff like that, but just someone who has like certain favorites that they treat with more reverence than the others, I like. Alright, so I'm kinda like that with Defoe, 'cause I have to think about it, how much stuff I've seen him in. Let me just think for a second. He was in Autofocus, which is the movie about, that Bob Crane, that was the actor from, Hogan's Heroes that was murdered in his, apartment in that still unsolved case. Yeah, let me make sure I got because I would write it down just because sometimes I forget the movie's title because there's so much stuff. Um oh yeah, Animal Factory. That's the movie where he plays that one guy in jail that's bald that like takes the other one under his wing. Um and I still can't get over him being in American Psycho where it's good guy Green Goblin versus bad guy Batman because you have Christian Bale playing the lead character. American Psycho is a really good movie. I mean, I have to admit, that's one film I'm definitely like. It's got an all-star cast, but it's got a story I enjoy as well. That's why I said, like, I would hate to be someone who's only seen Bale as Batman, where the only thing you know about this man is doing this voice and being in 3 movies, where in the second one he's outclassed by the villain. It's like I would hate that to only be associated with that because he's a really good actor, and you saw that with Love and Thunder, where he was playing Gore. Gore has a lot of depth and characterization. People act like, oh, okay. Write something new, Akatsuki merchant. I've been waiting for a while. But I do wish people treated, those that give them entertainment better. And look, you wanna get mad at a writer, studio, company executive, whatever, but when you think about it, the only crime, and I say that in the metaphorical sense that an actor commits, is that they read a script and they maybe perform in a way that you either don't like or they participate in some story that you don't enjoy. But you have people who really treat them like subhuman garbage. I mean, we talked about how I don't like the sequel trilogy, but I've always condemned the way that the actors involved with that were because they had nothing to do with the writing of that stuff at all. So that's why I said I'll take people who worship them, like, go, "Oh, I love this person and I always watch their stuff." I'll take that over the other side of it, which is indifference or outright disdain, any day of the week. I haven't seen Winter in so long. He's been too busy marathoning Black Panther 2 over and over. He probably has every line memorized, and he's writing to Disney Plus about doing a Killmonger prequel series. Even though you know who really needs a prequel, M'Baku, because they sat over here lying about, oh, he Winston Duke got a pay raise to have more scenes and more lines, and then you watch it and he's still just barely involved with the actual main plot. I've never actually seen that movie, and I don't think I will, to be honest. Which movie? I've been mentioning a lot of movies. Are you talking about Wakanda Forever? Because if you're claiming that you haven't seen that one, we already know you're misrepresenting your record. We actually have you on file as having bought approximately 88 tickets to go see it in the last several days, and you've been watching at least 5 times a day for the last for the last 2 days. A decrease from the 10 that you had. Don't worry, you will be soon. I'm sure you'll get your ticket booked today. No, we're just waiting for you to return and check out your this amazing film. Winter Fresh actually has if he stops typing, it's because he's playing his bootleg copy of the movie on his computer. So he probably isn't even like in the stream. Like he's probably has the stream playing in the background muted, but he's actually watching the movie right now. So if you don't see any more comments from him, that's why. He says he said who needs this stream when you can have Shuri? I'm not much of a movie person. Then why did you see Wakanda Forever at least 3 times in the last 2 weeks? Are you telling me that you're not much of a movie person, but you are that much of a Black Panther person? I remember this one guy did a review and he was like, "Oh, Black Panther is my favorite movie franchise out of the MCU." And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, what franchise? They had one movie that everybody said was like the greatest thing ever 4 years ago. And then they basically had nothing except some characters that showed up in other stuff. Then their lead actor tragically and horrifically, passed away. And they did a second one that doesn't have minutes. So like I don't know, it's just like the franchise of two films. I don't know. Like I guess it seems like all of the Marvel stuff is based around giving some particular character a trilogy, right? And then a bunch of standalone, like a bunch of appearances in like group movies like Avengers. And it kind of gets repetitive when you know that, well, when they get to number three, that's it. And you're only going to see them in like other people's stuff from now on. I don't know. I wish we could see that trend break more. I've never really been into Black Panther, to be honest. Like, he's a cool character, but he's not my favorite. Okay, he might not be your favorite, but Killmonger is your favorite antagonist in any movie. When you saw him on your screen, you thought you were viewing something serene. You know, he has a lot of depth, and he's so complex, and he's one of the greatest movie villains ever. Dude, I remember I was telling that joke about how like Black Panther was the best movie of 2018. And James was like, I'm trying to remember what movies came out there. I was like, dude, that's the same year where Infinity War came out. That was way better. The other competing Marvel movie that year already was like above it. I thought it was really interesting how like people were pointing out, what is this? Oh, okay. Anyways, I thought it was really interesting how people were pointing out that he gets they were like, "Oh, T'Challa has more stories to tell." I'm like, "Well, I mean, by that definition, they should have kept Iron Man and Captain America around too. They have way more stuff." Like we never got to see Modoc. We never got to see Iron Man against a real Mandarin. Um Heck, we never even get to see like it's just there's a whole bunch of stuff that if they wanted to, they could do it, but with them and they chose not to. So in this case, it really was like real life writes the plot, where if he had in the past, they would have kept him around. But it is what it is. So I said this stuff just is so sad. Yeah, I already know when I see winter, it's always a big event. Let me read this message from WikiPiss. We ask you humbly, don't scroll away. Hi, sorry to interrupt again, but this Saturday we humbly ask you to support Wikipedia. This isn't the first time we've asked recently, but only 2% of readers give. All we ask is $2.75 or what you can afford to keep Wikipedia and its sister projects thriving. If Wikipedia has given you $2.75 worth of knowledge this year, take a minute to donate. The Wikimedia Foundation. I tell you, the funniest thing to me is just thinking about imagine having a website where if people don't donate, the worst thing that's going to happen to it is it'll have ads on the like in it, or like people promoting their products on the side, and they sit here and they act like they are just the most destitute. Like, how do you have a website that millions of people use, and you make and like the guys at the top are worried it's going to shut down? Are you serious? So I said, I'll never be sympathetic toward them because remember I said I showed and demonstrated they treat people who contribute like trash, um, and I just don't have time for it. So they can keep sitting over there begging for money every year, and I'll keep laughing. I'm glad only 2% donate. It should be 1% or zero. As awful as like as awful as that site treats the people that edit, it really should be no one donating, but I'm glad it's as low as it is. 2%. Good. Yeah, they're just an awful place with a lot of people that they take advantage of. Like, how do you beg for volunteers and then when people edit, you delete it and you tell them that they don't know what they're doing and they need to do all that? It's just it's a bad site. It's really toxic. There's a lot of stuff that happens on there that people are not aware of. And it's just it's sad that contributors are expected to put up with that stuff forever and ever. But like I said, I think a lot of these wiki sites, like not even just Wikipedia itself, but just any site where you've got a group of people who are contributing, they tend to be run by somebody who doesn't appreciate the people that assist them. Like they're not like going out of their way to stop you from helping, but they're not trying to really be there and actually like show or give you any credit for what you do either, which is really sad. Because like I said, they act as if you have to do this. You don't have to do it. You can say, "All right, here's your wiki." I'm good. But that's why I said that people online are just they're a really bizarre group, especially when they go on on these websites where they think nobody's going to notice them acting crazy. I mean, I still can't believe that you can get in trouble for contributing. Like they'll try to like tell you how bad you are and where all these paragraphs about you should do this, you should. And you're just like, look, man, anything I post on here, if you don't like it, you can delete it. Like, so go get rid of it if it's so bad. That was the first time that I just kind of like started to get sick of talking to people in text, like talking text to text, because a lot of times they ignore what you're saying or they respond with like one sentence after you wrote like five. Yeah, that site is a really awful place. So tired of I don't know, Amazon's a really annoying site too because you can order something on there and be like, all right, they'll say, oh, it's coming on Friday, and you're like, okay, and then we changed our mind. It's actually coming on Thursday, and you're like, well, that's bad because I have stuff to do on Thursday, and I'm going to be here on Friday. So it's going to come. No, it's coming on Friday. So just we're going to put this in your mailbox, and you're just going to have to hope that nobody grabs it or takes it. And if they do, oh well. God, you can't even order anything anymore without being like scared that it's going to show up and it'll at some time where you're not even around, and then somebody else will get it. But that's because the site sets you up for that stuff because they don't tell you what day something's coming. That's one of the reasons why I don't really like ordering stuff online from other places because they'll give you these estimates. You'll be like, well, I'm only off maybe like twice next week, so you're gonna have to give me a specific day that I can be assured this thing is going to come. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of online stuff isn't done in service of the people that use it. Like they don't do these things trying to be helpful toward regular people where they're like, "Oh, okay, well, uh, we understand you're busy, so we'll try to see if we can get it out by this day or that day." They don't do that. They just expect the rest of us to sit here and wait hand and foot for these magic boxes from the computer to show up. Man, I remember there used to be this one woman that I spoke to on Instagram with like maybe 6, 7 years ago. Um, and I remember one day, this is about like 2 or 3 years ago. I was looking at one of her page or at her page because I hadn't spoken to her in years. And she did this makeup tutorial video. And I remember being so disturbed by how different she looked with it off. And I guess that leads me into one of the things because I don't really sit around talking about the what I find attractive on chicks because There's no point. Like anything I think is not attractive, some other man will think is attractive, and then they'll try to like argue back. And I'm not. I don't have time for that. But I've never been a fan of makeup, like at all. And usually, like lipstick is whatever. But like they'll put stuff on like eyelashes and stuff on their cheeks too. And it gets to a point where you're almost like, what does this person actually look like? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess because me and my friend were discussing, we're like, when you or I get out of bed in the like get out of bed in the morning, go to bed at night, we look the exact same way that we did throughout the day. There is no alterations or modifications or stuff like that. And I was talking about how ironic it is that you have these people that are like, you lack confidence, you don't believe in yourself. But look at the who they're defending. The people with confidence have to hide their face under 30 pounds of whatever product they use. I mean, come on. It's just, I don't know. I just, it's one of those things where if somebody else likes it, whatever, but I've just never been a fan of it. Like, I don't even think out of any of the chicks I've ever asked out in real life, any of them have worn that stuff because I just don't like it. I don't. It leads me to question how attractive is she actually? Because at some point you're gonna have to take that stuff off, and you're gonna be like, oh no, what is this? I was working one time. I saw a chick wear so much makeup, it looked like she was wearing a mask, and I was thinking, what was she trying to hide? Dude, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's not even just some they put on their lips or eyelashes. I'm talking about they have some makeup where they put on their forehead, they put on their cheeks. Again, the eyelash stuff is whatever. I mean, like you almost really are wondering what do they look like because they have all this stuff they just throw on their face every day. Dude, that should be a whole other story about like do a video about all the chicks and the different modifications they make. Because I remember I had this one chick I was talking to on Discord that mentioned having breast implants, and I was just thinking to myself how you have these guys that are like, "Oh, you lack confidence," like, but I'm not the one trying to transform or have or get sliced up. That's them doing that. And I don't have anything nasty to say about someone that wants to do that. Whatever they can do whatever they want with themselves. But it's just kind of ironic because they sit here and act like you have a problem with who you are, but you're not the one trying to be a transformer, trying to get an upgrade at the shop. I don't know. I just think all of it is tacky, but whatever. If only chicks spend as much time on their personality as they do their appearances, I would like them a lot more. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't talk to some guy that you don't find attractive for 9 or 10 months because you want the attention and you're lonely. So you're not going to give him what he wants, but he's supposed to give you what you want. No, that woman stuff is the worst. Yeah, a lot of them call binge watching a hobby, which is laughable. Well, like I said, I just my problem with it is the hypocrisy. Like to because we discussed this before. If you're a woman, you're allowed to have different personalities. You have chicks that are like go to school. You have chicks that just work. Like they're allowed to have some kind of variety. You have chicks that wear makeup, chicks that don't. But I said before, it's like if you're a guy, you're supposed to be this one specific thing, And if you don't fit it, then you have other men try to like say nasty stuff to you and call you out your name and all the rest of that, garbage. Oh, I finally just saw Euro. He's been busy with his delivery driver position of making 300 stops a day, and and not being able to go for any drink of water throughout his 8 hour or 10 hour shift, and getting recorded while he's sitting up in that hot, sweaty van. I remember we had this joke that the car is so hot that because they're recording you, whatever camera they're using starts fogging up from all the heat just pouring in. Oh, let me get into the irony. So last Friday, I got my contract ended by this stupid company I was working with, and it took me by surprise because just like any other cowardly manager, the manager didn't say anything about like, oh, I don't like that you're not moving as quick as nothing at all. And I remember the agency's representative told me that don't worry, um, they're going to get somebody else who's going to not come in, who's going to be. And I was like, yeah, right. They're just saying that to make me feel better. So I found out this week they hired this new person, it's a woman. And on Monday, this is the place that got rid of me. On Monday, she comes in, whatever, serviceable. Tuesday, she doesn't come in because she has car troubles or car issues or some crap about her vehicle. On Wednesday, she comes, but there's a twist. The shift ends at like 2 something, and then she leaves an hour early, doesn't explain it, just evacuates from the building. And then apparently did the same thing on Thursday. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself as I'm being told this, because I was informed of it a few days ago. I was like, wow, they got rid of a person who showed up on time every single day and stayed the whole shift for an individual who, if they do show up, they're leaving early because they feel like it. And sometimes doesn't even show up because of whatever, dog ate my homework excuse. I hope they enjoy their trade. It felt so nice just imagining like the frustration of the manager, like, oh, I hired this new person. Why aren't they coming? It's like, oh, maybe I should maybe I shouldn't have been so harsh on the one that actually was showing up. It's really cathartic to know that they got karma times 10 this week. Because usually I always just assume that when these places, because I don't like have any way of knowing what happens at the other places I worked at, but I just think it's funny how oh yeah, Euro, I was let go of because I didn't have the speed they were looking for. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard from any person who could be put in a position of power. It's the most nebulous crap. There's no examples given. And again, so cowardly that they can't even tell you to your face, hey, I want you to improve on this because we're trying to catch up with such and such. None of that. So I had a real ball knowing that they're going through hell with their new person. It feels really nice to see these people get what they deserve. You're gonna sit here and get rid of me after I worked as hard as I did. I showed my scarred fingers on last Saturday's stream from twisting all those damn caps as hard as they said for me to do. And it's like you do all this for them, and this is how you're rewarded. Good riddance to them. They should think more critically about stuff before they make a rash decision of letting go of someone abruptly. Thank goodness for the karma. It felt real good hearing about that because I really didn't believe the representatives. Like, yeah, they're just telling me that to feel better. And then this week, they've been getting it with that new person. they show first impressions, everything, right? They show up on Monday, no issue. Tuesday, the car won't work. Wednesday, they show up and then they leave an hour early. Apparently, did the same thing on Thursday. They got exactly what was coming to them. Just like I told you, Megumi, don't let people on the internet trick you into thinking that just because you're single, all the chicks that ever said no to you are all happily with these different. You know how many broads? If you go like, I don't look at their pages, but There's a lot of them that go on the internet and complain about my boyfriend cheated on me, and I don't think I'm gonna end up with anyone. I'm telling you, karma it extends in places in ways that we usually don't even find out about. And you might say to yourself, "Oh, are you really gonna say that a woman deserves it?" It's like, no, no, they told me I didn't deserve anything, so I don't feel bad when something happens to them. Like people can come online and tell you that you should off yourself because a woman doesn't like you, but then you're supposed to feel bad if one of them gets cheated on by their boyfriend. Get out of my face. How does that work? Yeah, why should you feel? No, don't. Because remember, these people do not care about you. The manager at that place was fine with getting rid of a guy who came every single day, did all the stuff that he was told to do, and was completely okay with me just sitting there and being unemployed. So, which I'm not currently, thank God, because of the whatever. But anyways, so when I find out that that place has hired somebody else who is not showing up, who is if they do show up is like coming in late or leaving early, I laugh because it's funny, and the irony is so just abundant. That's a very insightful way of thinking. I've also felt this way after being done dirty by someone, for example. I agree. I feel karma is real. Listen, I don't go around talking to chicks that I don't think are attractive for 9, 10, 11, 12 months and then being like, "Well, I don't really like." So there is no karma for me with romance. The worst thing that has happened to me is I just don't speak to them anymore. I don't have any of them putting me on child support. I don't have any of them dragging me to court because I put my hands on them. Nothing. That's what happens when you don't bother anybody. But chicks on the other hand, they end up having these kids they can't afford, which is a more of a detriment to the child than them, but we'll get to that later. They if they do end up with some guy, they're uh, cheating on him or vice versa. I've seen all this play out. So you'll be surprised, but I would be willing to bet very few of the chicks that are like doing this whole thing of talking to a bunch of guys for attention actually are ending up with these dreamboat, amazing, world's finest guy. Because, like I said, why the hell would they be online searching for more bananas if they were so successful with getting one in the first place? Like I said, don't ever feel if you have a dream or a goal and someone is directly stopping you from doing that. Like if you want to work somewhere and then some company gets rid of you or they don't hire you, or you want to date some, I don't know, like get married, but then every time you ask out some woman, it's the same old stupid stuff. If something bad happens to that company or to that woman or whoever, do not feel bad for them. They had no problem denying you what you wanted. So if you find out something happened to them, there should be no empathy. You weren't given it, so you shouldn't give it back. It's kind of funny. When I was going to that dog interview, that place that always had dogs, um, there was uh, a driver who actually Uber driver. They took me up to like by the street, and they didn't know that where the place actually was. I didn't either because I'd never been there before. And they drove back. They came back to where I was to like basically make sure that I made it to my location. I went and asked this person in this building if I was in the right place, and they pointed me down the street. And they for free they drove me down the block to this place, and I was so touched by this act of kindness because they didn't make anything from coming back and making sure I was in the right place. I asked the driver for his number, and we started speaking, and we were just talking, just having some discussions, whatever. And I mentioned I was trying to get some book off of because I use my card, and sometimes I don't look and see what the exact amount is because a lot of stuff I get is pretty cheap, like $10, $20. I said, "Oh, I was trying to get this book off of Amazon, but I'm like down by $10." The driver sent me the $10 to get it, and I was just staring at it um today. It's supposed to come on Sunday, but Amazon lied, and I was like, wow, I got more out of this kind driver that I just acted nice to because I really appreciated the gesture that they did than out of any chick I have ever spoken to that has not been a member of my family throughout my entire life. It's like, wow. But remember, you need women. Remember, you can't live without them. And also, if you don't believe me, I'll show you the text message. I didn't ask the driver for money. I don't beg anybody for anything. And he said, "This is you don't have to pay me back. This is just a gesture of being nice." And I was like, "Wow, thank you." Yeah, I was really surprised. I guess maybe there's something to be said about when you treat another person like a human being, they might do something for you that you don't expect. Because I was just saying, like, hey, I got to go up to this bank and stick $10 in my account. I don't feel like walking up there. He's like, oh, that's all right. I can send you there. I was like, really? Yeah, are you sure? Let me read what Megumi was writing. Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. I won't have sympathy, empathy slash empathy for those people who directly impacted my endeavors in a negative way. You get what you gave, and if you didn't give nice, you aren't going to get nice. Simple as that. See, a simple gesture like that, you can't find in pretty much hardly ever any chicks, especially online. Instead, they'll just give you only lip service. And the crazy part is, because I've explained this before, we're not even talking about like dating somebody, marrying somebody. Remember, we've discussed how impossible it is for women to have a phone call with you. Like if you say, "Hey, I want to talk to you over the phone." "Oh, well, I'm very busy this week, but let me see, maybe if we can do this." And then she stands you up, and then you keep playing that cycle again. And I told you about the woman who um, kept setting up calls with me just to not show up 5 times. And again, it's like if they can't even do something as simple as that, you're really gonna believe you have a future with this person? They can't even do a phone call, but they're gonna meet you at let's I don't know. I explained before that like you can't depend on chicks. You can't. Like just they have shown they're unreliable. They have shown they're wishy-washy. They have shown that they are completely fine with being a detriment to you in pretty much any conceivable way. And they have absolutely shown that they love wasting people's time. You know how many chicks I've spoken to? They're asking you all this personal stuff. So, what do you and your brother like to do together? Well, where do you live? Are you religious? Are you all these personal questions? All this stuff that makes it sound like they're interested in getting to know you. And then just 2, 3 weeks later, well, I don't think this will work anymore. I don't believe we are compatible. Like, what is the point of that? That's why I said nobody has time for that stupid stuff anymore. Like, I'm good. It's very hard to find a modicum of respect. Yeah. Yeah, I was so touched when the driver came back. I couldn't believe it. Because that was the day after like or three of my relatives were talking about how I was so lazy and I don't want to do anything and and I was like, wow, you get more compassion from strangers than members of your own family. It's really sad. I can't remember the last time one of them got me a book. You know what I mean? Like or helped me pay something off that I wanted. I don't know. I just thought it was like really crazy that even something as small as that goes a really long way when you put it in the context of this like really crappy group of people that you're constantly and unfortunately surrounded by. So many of them do that. There was a time I was so determined to wanting to get with just one and kept going and kept getting that same scenario. Yeah, they're very repetitive. You wouldn't believe my huge disappointment after that. I just said forget it. I told you any normal guy that wants to get with a woman and has to deal with the circumstances that we currently have would be driven insane by the things that chicks do and the things that men do to defend them. Like the stuff with women is annoying. But then when you come online, you guys talk about if you just had a six pack and you lived in a golden house, you have it's like, dude, we're talking about wanting to go on a date. It's like, and remember this, we always talk about like how the stuff is not nuanced. What because this a lot for a lot of people, it starts when they're in like high school. What 15, 16, 17, 8 year old do you know who has a six or eight pack? Because I knew kids even that were in, like they played sports, for example, they weren't muscular. I mean, and it's like, why do you have to have that just to like, again, if you have to have muscles to date a woman who's 300 pounds, that there's something wrong with that. Just like I was talking to my friend, I was like, he's like 5'7". If he tries to ask out some woman that's 5'3" and she tells him that he's too short, it doesn't make any sense. That shows there's something wrong with the broad, not him. I mean, what the hell would I look like if I came on here and I said, "Yeah, man, I've been in jail for battery and I show you my criminal record, which I don't actually have, just as an example." I'm like, "But I will only date women who have squeaky clean, non-issues with the law, and you better not have one or else I will not be." It's like, but you look at yourself. That's why I said like they are so hypocritical in their standards and the types of things that they want, and they don't even realize it is what's funny. Like I said, I stopped doing that woman stuff when I just kept seeing the same result. Because we discussed it before, Megumi, that at a certain point it becomes a self-parody. Like for you to keep asking them out and still thinking you have a chance or there's gonna be some big difference when every time before it's been the same old crap. I remember I was like, "Oh, here's this new woman. I guess I'll say something to her. Oh, she gave me her number. Well, I'm sure after like 2 months she'll have a problem with me." And then you say hello, you do your usual stuff. Oh, she said she's not interested in me romantically. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Again, you're still doing it, but you're self-aware. You don't have any heartache or big shock or because I told you the first time I ever got turned down, this was when I was like seventh grade. I couldn't believe it. It was a girl I'd known for 5 years who I thought I was friends with. I asked her for her number, she gave it to me like that. I was floored. But that's why I said if I was doing it like a self parody, like not aware that this keeps happening, be like, oh, there's this new woman. I really think we're gonna have a future together. It's gonna be so amazing. And then she says no, and I'm like, I can't believe she turned me down. But I know if I just keep trying, somebody will like me. Like you don't believe that because you've seen it not happen. Yeah, by that point, it's basically a fool's run. I told you that like all the chick stuff now is just this big joke. Like it's not even about like being attracted to anybody anymore. Like, like actually thinking that if you talk to them and have some kind of dialogue, you're going to build to something. Cause there's a whole bunch of chicks that you'll sit there and talk to and have stuff in common with, or they'll say they like you and it's still, just, they just want to keep it platonic forever and ever. And then they get mad at you when you actually, are like, okay, well, if you're not going to give me what I want, then bye. And like I said, the chick stuff it's a plague I understand because when I was at the place 2 weeks ago, they had some woman that was working up there. She looked nice. I was thinking about her in my head. I was like, man, it would be really cool to see what she looks like with less attire on, if you catch my drift. But I just kept that to myself, and I knew that if this was something I thought about, it's a lot better to just kind of compartmentalize it than actually try to act on it because we've been around the block before. We're not inexperienced with the time wasting that they like to do. Ugh. I got burned out after a while. The best way, in my opinion, is a warm approach. I go with no approach. I'm sick of that. They can do whatever they want. And we already talked about this before, but if you can't get one of them to do what you want, then again, there's no point in asking them out because you're going to keep getting, like, I guess I put it this way: when you're told that you have to meet someone's standards, but then you don't even know if that person meets your own standards as far as like their wants and desires. Um, it's one of those things we talk about how you can't have a relationship of partners if there's no equality, and having one person, the guy, do every single thing to appeal to the other already screws up the foundation because now he's going to be afraid that if he does something she doesn't like or he says something she's turned off by, she'll just cut him off like that and he'll be back to the damn drawing board. So he's going to be like really reluctant to, actually say something and show how he feels, which is, it sets up a whole bunch of other problems. But it's like if you want to, for example, get married, have kids, and you keep meeting chicks who say that they don't want to get married or have children, then you have no point in dating them. Like it would be, if you have some desired goal and they're against it, then there's no purpose in even doing anything with them to begin with, because they're telling you to your face, I am a waste of time. You're not going to get what you want out of me. So keep moving. Keep trucking. Justin says is right. Seriously, it's too uneven to make it organic in any way if you're having to keep this up. I'm telling you, when you start a relationship where one person has had to do so much stuff to appeal to the other, and the other one is just considered perfect as they are, you're going to have this extremely imbalanced interaction where it's a woman who's like really empowered and she just says what she wants, and this guy who's kind of like, well, I guess maybe I'll say something. I don't know. I hope that I don't end up upsetting her because I don't want to sit here and have to act like it, you're causing that to happen. When you sit here and tell a man, do all this stuff to appeal to a woman, oh, but the woman, oh, she's perfect as she is. Seriously, like think of how like just put this stuff in tandem. You do a series of things that you believe make you more attractive, whatever that is. And then you're supposed to do what people online tell you is more attractive, whatever that is, because that's all over the place. Then you're supposed to ask out the woman. So by jump, it's you having to exert more effort than her, even when you're like first meeting this person. And then if you go on a date with her, you're supposed to, I guess, act in a way that you think is favorable to her. Like that's why I said there's too much of this second guessing, and again, none of it is organic. It's all staged. It's like you're being an actor to like attract somebody that, let's be honest, if she didn't have a triangle between her legs, you wouldn't pay more attention to her than you would a branch on the street. So yeah, the stuff is really imbalanced. It's not appealing. Again, if you want to get something down with the chick, I recommend a trip to Vegas because over there they you could pay a price and get whatever you want done. Um, and people are like, well, they only use you for money. It's like, yeah, you really think regular chicks like you for your personality when we've had plenty of instances where they beg you for stuff. Are you serious? Like that's why that thing with that driver was so compelling to me. Like I didn't ask him for anything, and he still handed me something. I was like, wow, I must have really made a good impression. Yeah, I don't beg people for anything. Yeah, that's crazy. That's great that happened. I guess one simple act of decency can be rewarding in and of itself. You think I'm kidding? I can't remember the last time that like I got anything out of a woman other than, again, lip service, and that's pretty much it. Like a tangible thing that they did for you. Dude, you can't even get a chick to buy you a piece of candy from the liquor store. You know, sit here talking about how we need them and they're gonna be there for, it's like, come on. Because I said before that like I've always accepted the idea that if you care about somebody, you can assist them with like a utility, like, hey, this person is hungry. Um, oh, hey, this person needs a roof over there. Just like something that they need. Not, I'm not talking about like buying some clothes or whatever, but just like an essential item. You'll never see that from one of them, and it's really sad when you think about it. Such a kind gesture. I seriously can't imagine even a chick you're friends with would do something like that. None of them ever have. I could talk to a woman for a whole year, and remember, I spoke to what was that Triple L for like 10 months. Nothing happened with regard to like her doing something for me. Because, like I said, all they do is just run their mouths. They don't contribute in any meaningful way to you or I. And that's the same broad where her car was like in the shop or something, needed repairs. Like, oh, I can send you this much to help with paying for it. She's like, oh, but I thought you didn't like it when a woman asked me. It's like, yeah, but it's a utility. It's something you actually need. And then she said she appreciated it, but she was gonna do whatever. It's like, at least in my instance, there was some that was offered that could actually be of service or help. With all the chicks, it's the same thing. They run their mouths and they hope that people think that just because they have triangles, you're supposed to sit here and be impressed. Like there's not another billion people with those. Like just you get nothing out of them. That's the best way to put it. Nothing of any utility or any substance that will you receive from a woman. Certainly not any of the modern ones. And it's really sad. Oh my God, we're such great friends. That's why the only thing I can do with you is ignore your phone calls or like fail to set up a day with you to speak. And even if I set it up, I'm still not going to make it anyway because I'm the busiest person in the world. But yeah, I totally am someone that cares about you, and I very much value being with you. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's why I said I'm so tired of chicks. Everything with them is such a joke. No, Megumi, it was really unexpected. If you told me that I was gonna start speaking to some driver that like came back to make sure that I arrived at the right place, and then, just by virtue of speaking to him and just having a regular dialogue and just mentioning, uh, in passing that I was trying to get some book that he would send me some to get it, I would have never believed you. I'm like, yeah, right. No, I'm always surprised by any act of decency now. Like, you think I'm kidding? If you go somewhere and somebody like gets you a little thing of food at a market, I'm sitting there shocked. I had one of my relatives send me $20 to eat. What was it, last week? I couldn't. I almost fell out of my chair because I couldn't remember the last time one of them. Well, there were always like the same two usually, but I was surprised because of who it was, because they've never done anything like it before. So really, just any acts of decency or assistance, even if it's something small, by like somebody in real life, is for the most part something I'm not used to, because people they don't care, man. They don't care if you starve or you can't eat, or just whatever. Most of the time when this is mentioned to one of them, you're met with opposition from them. Yep. Okay, Winter says my best friend bought me a Swiss Army knife for me. I can't imagine a woman doing that for me besides my mother or perhaps my sister. Well, we're not counting relatives. Because there like there are, I mean, dude, most relatives that aren't crazy are gonna do stuff for you if they live with you or you live with them, or they're in close proximity. Um, we're talking about like people you're not related to that you just act nice toward, being like, "Hey, you need this thing? All right, here you go." It's like, wow. Told you it doesn't even have to be something big. It could just be like, again, that book was like $10 or $20, but but even then, I really appreciate because you don't see that from chicks. Told you I've had chicks I've spoken to for months, and like you will never see one of them do something for you that is tangible, even when this is genuinely a small gesture, but still is appreciated and does go a long way. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I'm not asking for anything from you, because I was like, I didn't, like I said, when you get like nothing from most people, you just expect nothing, and then that's why it's all the more surprising one of them does something. Yeah, my grandfather randomly called me today and asked me if I needed money, sent me $50. Don't make me start talking about grandpas before I start crying on stream, and then I have people clipping the stream talk about uh cry baby, reminiscence about past. I don't really, we don't need that. So I'm gonna pretend I didn't even read what your last comment. I told you some woman cries on a stream. Everybody says, "Oh my god, that was so emotional," and what a great moment to be caught on camera because it shows you the compelling depths of humans and their personality and their ability to deal with things that are thrust upon them. If a man does it, he needs to man up and he needs to become, like I don't know. I'm so tired of like if you're a woman, you can express your emotions in any way you see fit. If you're a guy, you have to be this stoic individual who is they always have to be comedians. They always have to be really really entertaining. Who is always in a good mood or is not bothered by anything ever. It's that's why I said I'm really sick of a lot of that stuff. Reminds me of when my friend's GF got. Oh yeah, I remember you telling that story. Still to this day, while it does surprise me a lot, it isn't something you'd often see, even if you're with. Yeah, because like, dude, every relationship I see where one of the partners, um, excuse me, the only exception is if the couple is married, which is even more rare. But the only instances I see where a partner buys something big for the other partner, it's always the man buying the woman stuff. Every time. I told you about that dingbat with the baby, right? Spends a whole year having this guy pay for her storage, and that's the place she keeps all her stuff in. And she might get him a shirt from the dollar store. And like, it was like that's your token of appreciation. That's why I said, man, relationships are too uneven if you're a guy. Like if you're a guy, you're not going to get any benefits out of it. Oh, she might sleep with you. Yeah, there's no other way to get a woman to do that without talking to one of them for months on end. Ha ha ha. It's just not worth it. Like that's what it is to me. I don't really feel like sitting here talking to somebody for no 5, 6, 7, 8 months, and then that one says no, and you got to start all over again, and I just get tired of it. I bet you were very shocked when you found out about that friend and that PS5. Like I said, if you're a guy, I think a lot of us just preconditioned to accept you're not going to be given many acts of kindness or human decency. That's why I said I had no sympathy for that employer because they're completely fine with throwing you away like an empty bag of potato chips and moving on to the next person. It just so happened to be that the person they got afterward, like a lot of the ones they had before, was not very good, which is why I laughed. But if you really think about it, there are so many people that are fine with you like not achieving your goal, even if it's something, because I said before, like if I ran for office and I lost, I can live with that because most people who run don't win. Most people that try don't succeed. Um, like you're asking for something basic such as being readily employed somewhere. And these places will throw you away so quickly. If you want to go on a date with some woman, that's still something that's considered basic. It's not like you're asking her to marry you. And these bastards will have you talking to them for months and months and months with nothing. Um, and sometimes it'll end with her finally revealing that she's not interested in you, but she had no problem speaking to you all year long. And you just get sick of it. You're like, why are these things that should be so simple that I've seen millions of men throughout history have become impossible? And they're not impossible because you've decided you're not going to have them. Otherwise, you wouldn't even apply, approach, whatever to get it. But you have a group of people in both of these respective fields that are trying as hard as they can to make this as hard as it can be to actually succeed. So it's a really sad cycle. It's such a huge waste of time, and you aren't getting any younger. Then you got to keep reliving the same circumstances over and over with no form of progression. Yeah, and it's like I told you, you have chicks that decide by this age they want to get married, by this age they want to have a family. And you know what's the only difference between them and you and I? Um, they get asked out by so many men who will do pretty much anything to be with them that all they have to do is say, "Hey, I want to get married." Oh, okay, let's do it next year, or this month, or in next month. I told you, chicks have so much power over relationships. And it's like the fact that people want you to keep participating in that, knowing how much of a disadvantage you are, and how much you're going to stay at indefinitely, mind you, because like I said, even if you exercise and become whatever the hell these people tell you to be, you're still not going to have a bunch of chicks asking you out in real life. That's never happening because chicks don't ask out men that they think are attractive. Cowardly. But yeah, the only difference between them and us is that they have options. So they have someone who's willing. Like it's like this. If you're a man, you try to bend yourself as much to this woman's desire to get with her. If you're a woman, you tell the man your desire and he tries to do whatever he can to appease it because everything is geared toward chicks. That's why I said, like, I have no problem, like, just not even asking any of them out anymore because there's no point. Sitting here and talking to somebody month after month just to be told, I only like you as a friend, or I don't find you to be this. It's like I'm done with it. It's overdone and repetitive. And remember, you know what the circumstances were. You know what the consequences are after you get turned down by her and you make a video or you talk about it online. You must have done this. You must have done that. Anything we can say to defend a dingbat because it's always the fault of the guy. And you're like, well, so wait a second. So if you really think about it, women that are not members of your family, like the ones that have actually done something for you, like your mother, grandma, whatever. Women that are not members of your family only serve two purposes for you: to waste your time when you want to be in a romantic relationship with one of them because they can never just say no, and end it right then and there before it even starts. And to be used as a tool for people, like to be used as a means for people to attack you with. These are the only two purposes they have served in my life. Again, excluding ones I'm related to. Um, and I'd imagine for a lot of other men. So they waste your time, don't give you what you want, and then they're used as a means for people to like draw conclusions about your personality and income and appearance and all this other stuff that shouldn't even be this big. Like like I said, man, there's a whole bunch of chicks that I don't think are pretty, and I'm not like, you are ugly to me, so no man will ever like, but like that's why I said chicks are allowed to be whatever they want. And if you're a guy, you gotta fit in that little tiny box. Man, I wish I had like a prop of a little small box. I'll put it up here. Wow, that's a hard reality to accept. Well, again, maybe I'm wrong. If you had a woman that wasn't related to you do something that was great and that you felt like it really helped you and you needed her and she was there for you and all the rest of that stuff, because I haven't. There has never been a single woman who was not a member of my family. And again, I'm not talking about like a teacher or something. I'm talking about ones you speak to because you want to, because you're friend like classmates and ones you meet on the computer, etc., or like outside of being forced to be around them. There's never been a single one of them whose ultimate contribution to my life was positive and fulfilling and rewarding, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And oh my god, it's never happened. Seriously, like women outside of my mother and then both of my grandmas, like I could take or leave them. They don't do anything other than just waste my time. No, they only have two roles in your life: to waste your time with the impression that you might get one of them to find you attractive back, um, and to be used as tools for people to attack you with. And yeah, I get it's something that people don't want to admit, but again, just ask yourself how many women that you're not related to have had a positive influence on your life. Dude, I remember there's this thing on TV tropes called "My Death Is Just the Beginning." And it's about where there's like a character that like a villain or character that dies, but then their influence is still felt. The first chick I ever asked out, like I mentioned to you before, was someone I knew for 5 years, and it's like at the time it didn't bother me. It was I got over it because it was like, okay, well, maybe there'll be other ones. And then when the same thing happened, I was like, wow, I get like it's like I had like a flashback, or so I was like, oh my god. So it's like my death is just the beginning. My rejection is just the beginning. And it really was. That was the start of this never-ending saga of time wasting chicks that act like they're interested in you for 2 seconds and then they flip and switch. And I just got really tired of it after a while. My rejection is just the beginning. It's so crazy to think about the ones I asked out after that. It's like I'd say out of the ones I asked out that I like knew or met in person, she still probably is like the top three most attractive. I haven't seen any like the last time I saw a picture of her was maybe like 6 years ago. So I maybe I'm wrong. That was like when she would have been like right out of high school or something. But I would say that I still like out of any because I don't sit here and start talking about people nasty if they do something like I'll still give them credit for whatever. But yeah, out of all the ones I asked out in person, it was her, and then there was like this one that was from I think it was Russia. Um, I think I mentioned that before, where I asked for her number, and then she gave me some account on some website, and then I messaged her, and she's like, "I am too busy trying to get the job and working to and going to school for to speak to you." And then she's on Instagram posting a whole bunch of thought pictures. So just it's I'd say those two, and then maybe it'll come to me. But like that's what I said. It's so sad that like this is their role. This is what they have chosen to be as a collective to you and I. I do remember getting this chick in school that I had a small crush on, a video game for her birthday that she was appreciative of, but never got me anything or hung out after school. No, that's what they do. They get rewarded for being attractive and for more especially for being female. And then, if you delude yourself, and again, I'm not going to say you did, but like a lot of guys delude themselves thinking if I get her enough stuff, I do this for her, she'll like me. And it's so funny because remember I told you that with chick stuff, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because you remember that Spider-Man picture I would show, right? So either way, I just can't win. You have chicks on different websites that actually like mock men that buy a woman's stuff because they're saying you can't like buy her affection, right? So it's like it's a bad thing to buy her stuff, right? But then when you go on like a channel like mine, you look at these nasty comments from people. What can you do for a woman? You don't have that much. It's like, so wait, so is it good? Is it bad to give her some kind of financial stuff to get by, whatever, or is it good? I mean, like this is why I said with women stuff, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. No matter what direction you take, you're gonna have someone saying you screwed up or you botched it. It's just like you get tired of it. Wait a minute, it can't be both. Oh, to them it is. Pick your poison. I pick the poison not talking to them because at least then you're not wasting your money on somebody that doesn't like you back. Told you, in all my years, I have never donated to a single woman on the internet. All the chicks I've spoken to, I've never given them one penny. With women, it can be everything at the same time. It might as well. Like I don't even know anymore. I tell you, it's like they're just throwing darts at a little like circle, trying to see which one sticks. Dude, if you listen to these people, you will be driven insane. Like if you actually take the things they say seriously, like, oh man, I need to go do this, you will lose your mind because the types of things they want you to do just to maybe get a date are first of all not worth it, but secondly are really nuts. Like I remember there was this one guy and he was like, you're talking to women over the computer. You shouldn't be talking to them for more than a couple of days before you travel to meet them. It's like, dude, you want me as someone who at that point was only like a year or 2 years removed from high school to be flying and zipping back and forth around the world to try and like meet chicks to go on. It's like, who has the time for that? And who wants to do that? That's why I said that like their chicks are not their role is to be used as a tool for people to attack you with. So they just like doing that stuff. Yeah, just dude. Remember, what the funniest part about this? Like, I'm just imagining these chicks that have these computers where because they can only see like this top part. They're like, I have new app that allows me to look under the computer and see your footwear. It's like it gets to all kinds of levels of absurdity. They don't consider the nuances of this stuff. It's just surface level garbage and unsolicited advice. Oh, they love unsolicited advice. Hello, person I've never met before. Here's 15 steps on what you should do to get a random woman to be attracted to you. Don't ask me if they actually work because I have no proof I've actually been able to court one successfully with this myself. But you should trust me. Just take 20 showers a day. They want you to go on the prune form, huh? Dude, nobody has the time for all this stupid stuff. Like, I tell you about that one douchebag that said go to the gym every day. I'm like, who the hell, what person that works a 9 to 5 or even just works like Monday through Friday, right, for 8 hours? Who has the time to do that? Go to the gym every day. Yeah. They need to send him to a mental hospital every day. If you believe something like that. Dude, I remember when I was in ninth grade, we had to read. It was like summer school before ninth grade. This book called "A Raisin in the Sun," and one of my classmates read the book and he was like, "Does the character evaporate in the sky like a raisin in the sun?" And he looked at the teacher with this big, goofy, like confused expression, and we all fell out laughing. Man, that face that he made was that's something that should be in like a skit for some movie or some kind of that was something that should be recorded and put into a film as like one of the funniest scenes in it, where you just completely misinterpret like symbolism is something that is discussed, but you don't have to see it. And they're talking about like this aging character, like being out in the warm, and it's like they're the but oh god, it's such a misinterpretation of the text. And the face he made, the confidence, the with his mouth wide open, like just like, fully convinced that he got it right. Yeah, people are weird. Remember the guy that said the mall has been dead since 2014? I was like, according to who? And then he gonna stalk James over to his channel and write some weird crap. Hey, I'm gonna do the same thing. Megumi has been irrelevant since 2018. What did Megumi do 4 years ago that made him irrelevant? We don't have to explain anything. Just make these definitive statements, and that's it. That's enough. Euro dollar has been fraudulent ever since 2020. Well, what happened 2 years ago? It actually does hurt my arms when I stretch like that. The rise of, oh yeah, that's serious. I can just picture June the King. He's like, Megumi was a YouTube commentator who mostly was in people's dreams. I'm just imagining Megumi just like singing that what's that song? Mirror on the wall, here we are again. Through my rise and fall, you've been my only friend. And you told me that they can understand the man I am. So why are we here talking to each other again? So many of these types of videos are on here. Yeah, where they're all like cataloging and detailing the past of different content creators. Everybody's making documentaries. Oh man. I told you I still think it would be funny if there was a movie where there's like some guy that talks about all the stupid stuff that chicks do, and then he starts like noticing little weird stuff happening where like different people are falling behind him or just like like I won't call it stalking, but they're like observing him. It's really weird. And he always says like, yeah, it's stupid, but they don't all do it. And then you actually like find out there's a whole group, like cabal of chicks that all just get off on wasting men's time, and they all like sit together at this big table. You got like 10 chicks talking to 1,000 guys. It's like, oh, he said this to me. Oh, he said that to you. And then when he finds out what they're doing, they want him to join their group as like the rep as like a sellout, basically, like as their figurehead person that has changed his position and now like says, oh, it's okay, chicks aren't that bad anymore. Like because he has so much credibility with talking about how stupid they are, to get him to switch or to you know turn over a new leaf would be the equivalent of like um adding more credibility to their organization. I'm just imagining like the cabal of chicks all sitting together at the table, and they all have the little phone, little smartphone, and the like key, the laptop, and they're all like typing the two different guys on both, like back and forth, two at a time, just all day long. Dude, it's really crazy. Like 10 chicks can end up talking to 1,000 guys. Because some of these chicks, you might not hear from them for days. And that could be because they're busy, which they always like to say that they are, or because they're talking to the other 99. It's like that K&D episode where they became the boys next door. No, well, I was gonna say, um, you remember how in the movie it's revealed that the delightful children from down the lane are actually like they're agents that were permanently corrupted into, being their own antithesis. It's kind of like that, but in the reverse, where you have the protagonist who like talks about the stupid stuff with that chicks do, but then the organization is trying to like bribe him into joining their side so that they can take away one of the people that like actually sees chicks for what they are, which is a bunch of time wasting, um, too high standard, ridiculous people that only get appealed to because of their gender. Now you remember that the movie revealed that, right? Where it's like revealed that they were agents before they getting turned into that group that they are in the actual show. It would be the reverse of that, where they're trying to like, and it's not like they're going to hit him with some ray gun or something, but they're trying to like bribe him into like drastically shifting his position. Dude, I'd love for that to be a reality. Please release this. This movie needs to be released. I'd have to write a script first. I only have like because I don't know if I missed you, but if I write something, I always have a little draft, little outline, if it's like a script for a movie or something or a show. And then I start to like actually put the, like act one, act two, act three, the romance conspiracy, the romantic rejection conspiracy, the RRC. But you get the point of a film like that, right? That you have a guy who says, this thing is really ridiculous. I'm so tired. And then he finds out it's even worse than he thought. It's like it's an actual group of women that are all like working together to screw over and waste men's time. And they're all, and like they all know that they're doing this, and like get a big kid, like they just do it just to do it. They like wasting men's time, and they're upset because they don't want him to keep like exposing what they're doing. So they try to like get him to join their organization by, trying to bribe him and putting all this weird stuff around to make him think he's going crazy. They don't want anybody realizing what they're up to. Just like when I had that recording of that one broad that was saying all that nasty stuff, it's like, yeah, you're gonna sit here talking about chicks don't like intercourse, but then that one is over here talking about taking somebody back to her, you know what, shack? Are you serious? That sounds like the Truman Show. No, just imagine like this really like this character piece on just someone who thinks like they've moved on from even wanting to date anybody. And then all of a sudden they start having different chicks like trying to say something to him. And he's like, where were they before, like this last year? Like, what is this? And then they keep leaving like little breadcrumbs that lead him to finding out that this is an actual conspiracy of chicks that have a explicit purpose to um cause emotional damage to men, because they know that nobody, like the general public, is a lot less sympathetic toward men than they are to women, and they're upset with the guy for like, seeing through what they are. Exactly, that was solid proof of how chicks also want that and can be aggressive about it as well. Yeah, man, that's why I put up, because I was like, I really like, I told you, when you know how bad this stuff has gone, and you still want it, but you don't like allow yourself to just become fully committed. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. You just sit there and you go, I'm gonna make sure that we have some record of this, because I'm not fully convinced the nightmare is over yet. Um, And sure enough, I'm really glad we were able to get that because that's something I wouldn't have done if this was me like 6, 7 years ago, where it's like, oh, this is just me and this person speaking to each other. But knowing the types of mind games they like to play, the wishy-washy nature where they switch from one side to the other, you know that this is what they are. Oh, by the way, Megumi, I don't think I got to ask you this. If somebody came to your house, um, wouldn't it be rude of them to not speak to you? Like, even if they're there to see somebody else because they're coming to your house, wouldn't it be rude that they came to your domain, but did not come there to see you? Wouldn't that be rude? Oh, wouldn't it be rude if I came to your place and I'm talking to your sister and I just act like you're not even there? I'm in your domain and I don't even say anything to you. Wouldn't it be rude of me to do that? So imagine my surprise because we talked about this last Saturday, that this like big explosion conversation that happened of Monday of last week. Uh, Not this past one, Monday before that. Imagine my surprise when I'm told that it's so rude to not speak to people when they show up at your place, even though again you speak to them if they talk to you, they come back and say something to you. But if they don't come back, you don't say anything, whatever. So it's rude for people. It's rude for you to have people come to your place who don't bother saying a word to you, but you're supposed to like roll out the red carpet and come and greet them and act like you're best friends with their very, very sometimey behinds. And dude, it's like the excuse that was first used was that these are people who are like relatives, right? But it doesn't even have to be a relative. It could be your uncle, it could be the mailman, it could be Daffy Duck, Roadrunner, the Three Stooges, the Ghostbusters, the Avengers, um, the Globetrotters. It doesn't even have to be someone that you're actually related to. Any random person that shows up and comes and sits down at your place and they're not there to see you, if you don't go see them, that's rude. Not for them to not say anything to you. That's perfectly fine. But if you don't say something to them when they come to your house, that's very rude. Think how backwards that is. Like, whatever. They are coming to where you live. They should have the common courtesy of greeting you at the very least. No, you're rude for not greeting them. So they can come to your place and sit down for 10 hours, but it's fine if they don't say anything to you. But if you don't say anything to them, it's only an issue for you to not say something, not for them to. They can come over and ignore you as for years if they'd like, because they're to see somebody else. I told you you can't make this logic up, man. It's the most brain dead, um, backwards thing. I mean, it's bad. It's really awful. They don't even try to sound like they have some. Yes, it is the Twilight Zone. And remember, it doesn't even have to be a relative or somebody you know. It could be your uncle, your aunt, your sister, the mailman, the milkman, the Ghostbusters, the Avengers, the Z Fighters. I mean, the Akatsuki. Like I just couldn't believe that they will do this for any random person that appears. You're supposed to just come out. Hey, how are you, person that didn't come to see me? I told you all they do is complain and complain and complain. Just like I remember when I was a kid. So there's this thing on TV tropes called uniqueness decay, and it's where there's a character who has like a special thing that's only for them, and then everybody else has it. So back during, just give an example, during Dragon Ball Z, the only character when they got angry and they would get stronger was Gohan. Everybody else, they had to train. With him, he got boost from just being enraged, right? Then you get to Super, and when Goku gets angry, he gets stronger. When Vegeta gets angry, he gets stronger. When Goku Black gets angry, he gets stronger. And you're like, now it's no longer special to Gohan. He suffered uniqueness decay. He used to be the only one that could get more powerful by being angry, and now everybody does. So back when I was younger, they would like, for example, if you wanted to like not speak to a parent, they'd be like, "Hey, that's your mother, that's your dad. This person is the reason you're here, etc., etc." Now every single person I'm related to does that, where they're like, "But we're related, we're family. I'm your second cousin. I'm your like every one of them does the family thing now, where it used to be this thing that was exclusive for like parents or grandparents, like somebody you owed some that you had some kind of like direct lineage with. Now every single damn person uses it. Like it again, more uniqueness decay. It used to be a thing that only maybe like six people at most would be able to use. Now 30, 40, 50 people you're supposed to like forever speak to, no matter what stupid or nasty stuff they do, because you're related to them. They took the origin they took that excuse of you're related or because this is your parent or whatever, and now every person who's related to you says we're family, so you must talk to me. It's they took this little tiny net and just found a way to expand it to a whole bunch of other random people. It's crazy. I would play if it didn't get me demonetized. I can't wait to come to Megumi's house to talk to his sister and ignore him, and then he'll be told he's rude, not the other way around. That's really messed up. I'm just imagining everyone turning into Dom and saying nothing is stronger than family. Well, like I said, I don't have a problem with wanting to care about someone because you're related to them, but I do have a problem with metaphorically sucking off a group of relatives who never call you, who, if they come to your place, they come to see somebody else. Like I just I have no desire to act like that these people mean something to me because I know I don't mean anything to them. You've had some real uniqueness decay. They took this thing that used to be used for like two people and now it's used for everybody. I don't know. It's just it's sad. They but I still was very happy about that place getting that crappy employee. I was doing cartwheels like ha 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 ha. But remember, I think I said before that one of the things I think is so crazy about employers is that they put up these help wanted signs like we need people, and then when they hire you, they look for any reason to get rid of you. And I always wondered if they like how many people they do that to. And like, are they gonna because it's like this. I believe I was unfairly gotten rid of from two of the last three positions I worked, or excuse me, from the last three, because they're I explained before, like they get you in this new job and this really short amount of time they look for something to have a problem with and they get rid of you. Because it's supposed to be a 3 month probation period, and instead you don't even get like half of that. So it feels very cathartic to know that they tried to get somebody else and that person isn't even showing up and is like screwing it up because they really don't even want it. Am I the only person that hates when family members always religiously play the "we are family" or "flesh and blood" card to just trump everything and justify for doing and deciding anything? Yeah, dude, I have one relative, I swear to you, if I am able to successfully cut them out of my life, I probably will live another like an additional 5 years, like on top of whatever I already have, because they are a great source of frustration, annoyance. They're just a terrible person, and everyone that makes an excuse for them says, "But you're related. You're related." I said, "I don't care. This is a person that mocked me when I was unemployed. This is I mean, like whatever. I'm not going to get into all this stuff, but it's like, you know, w- I- If they're confused as to why I don't want to speak to them, they're deluding themselves because all of it is very clear to everyone else. And like I said, I don't care who gets mad. I hope that person gets hit by a truck. They mocked me for dying with like, well, I had no position. I was getting help from nobody. So I really couldn't care what happens to them. And I told you, I this web people on this website can get mad. Oh my God, how could you wish that fate on somebody? They were completely fine with me having nothing. So yes, I don't care. But yeah, to go back to what you were saying, I hate it too. I people being related to you is the dumbest excuse to have to speak to them forever and ever. So I have a whole bunch of relatives in South Carolina and Mississippi that I've never spoken to. I'm not ignoring them. I just we don't we've never met. They live somewhere else. Oh, it is a nightmare, man. I even said before, when I die, knowing that I will never see them or hear their voice again will make me accept my fate easier. That'll be a comforting thought to be rid of the disgrace that they and frustration that they have played a background role in for I don't even know how many years now. So people have no idea what types of stuff happens when the cameras are off. I try to come on here and do a stream, discuss whatever. But there's a lot of irritating stuff that happens just in the background. Yeah, I agree. It's so stupid and unbelievably frustrating. Yeah, they think that just because they're related to you, they are. Remember, they were saying I'm entitled. It's like they think they're entitled to you because you're related to them. And I'm going to make this very clear. I don't care if it's your parent. I don't care if it is your sibling. I don't care if it's your cousin. I don't care if it's your aunt or uncle. If you have a person in your life that you don't want to talk to anymore, that you think has brought you nothing but pain, you have every right to walk away from them and never have any communication with them whatsoever again. Because the only time you owe somebody something, like you actually owe, like I need to be there for them, is if it's a person that has taken care of you, which for me is a very small group of people, and I've done my best by them, or if it's your own child. So like if I had a son or a daughter, I'm not gonna they can, say whatever and I'll still try because you made them. But any of these other people, if you feel like one of them has done something to you that was irrequivocal, or I guess that's the word to use, or something you can't like accept, you can't let slide, you deserve to be able to never see them again. I don't care who it is. And like I said, the only reason they've even been allowed to play to be like in my life for this long is because I had the crappy situation of like no car and then no position. So, but that stuff is seeming to be changing at last. I still am not entirely convinced because this week has had some really weird things happening in the background. But I'm a little bit more optimistic now than I was back in like let's say January or something. But yeah, if you have a person that you despise and they happen to share some blood with you, and you can cut them off. Why do you like you only get to live one time? Why do you have to be miserable? I'd love for someone to explain it to me. If you only get to live once, why do you have to be miserable? Why do you have to talk to somebody you hate? Why do you have to speak to people that you don't enjoy talking to? Why do you have to sit here and ask out 900 chicks just to get a date? Like, why do you have to do these things that bring you no joy? Remember, when you work a job, you might not like it, or there might be parts you don't like, whatever. But at least there's something you gain from it. right? What do you gain from being around people that you hate? You only get to I mean, like, I don't know what people's religions are, but as far as we know, you only get to live one time. Why the hell do you have to be miserable and be around people that you despise? Again, I don't care if you're related to them or not. I would love for someone to explain it to me. What justifies you spend the rest of your life around people that you do not want to be around? Why is that your fate? When he says I hear that. No, just I said before, if I can cut them off, I will. Again, I've been put in a really unique, crappy situation for the last few years. Um, but I'm doing as hard as I can to try and reverse it because I've always said I really only cared about getting like larger on here just because it seemed like none of these employers were saying anything back or hiring me. And like it seems as if that might be different now. Again, we'll find out in due time to what extent, but I'm all these people, if I could, I would just snap my fingers and get rid of them today. So with that being said, I'm probably gonna get off here. We've been going for 2 hours now. Thanks, Megumi. Thanks, Winter Fresh. Eurodollar was here earlier. He went back to scamming people on eBay with his fake coins that are made of paper. And I'll do another stream. I think I'm. Don't quote me on this. I might do one on Monday, but if I do, it's probably going to be earlier because I have to go to the job at 12. Like so, if I did my regular time, I would have to like go. I wouldn't be able to get there. Like I would click the end button and it would be like you're late. So I'll probably stream on Monday, but it'll be way earlier, like in the day, like early morning, or I guess I want to say 6 because I don't know if I'm gonna get up that early on you know at the end of the weekend, but we'll see. So thanks for showing up. Have a good rest of your day, and sayonara.